Hello, Year 11. I'm here today to talk to you about revision. So, a number of these slides you see I used in an assembly last year, and hopefully, it will all come flooding back to you and you will be motivated to start upping your revision. Now, if you remember, I asked you what all these have in common, and we looked at this. We debunked that myth that practice does not make perfect, but what it does do is make permanent. And that is what we are trying to ensure happens in the run up to our mock examinations and our real exams. That all that knowledge that we need is at our fingertips when we need it most during the pressure of an exam. So, it may or may not surprise you to know that if you prepare fully, you will not fail. If, however, you fail to prepare, sadly, you may be preparing yourself to fail, and we do not want that. Some people say, I'm not going to revise for the mocks and I'll see how I go. That is a terrible mindset, because all the revision that you do now will give you a good idea of how effective it is, but it will also be effectively revision for your real exams as well. And it's all about habits, isn't it? Getting into those good habits, which is ultimately what makes excellence, what we repeatedly do. So it may or may not surprise you to realise that you only have 7 weeks now until your mock exams begin. That is less than 50 days. So we have got 5 weeks, including this one, so it's actually less than that, 4 full weeks after this week. Then you have half term, 1 week. You only have 1 week back after that half term, and then it is your mock exams. So time is now ticking, and we need to maximise your revision time. You may remember I showed you this last year, and having spoke to some of your parents at the intervention evening and heard from other people who spoke to different parents, it's worth revisiting this, because some of you are still not getting the fact that revision is supposed to make you think hard. This is called the virtuous in inverted commas because it may feel good, but it is not effective, where you read your notes. It's really easy this. I'm getting some of it right. I'm learning, I'm revising. No, not good. This is called vicious in inverted commas because it doesn't feel great, but it's actually what works. You use an effective strategy such as self-quizzing. You find it hard. You do get some things wrong. You might feel, I'm not really learning here, so you give up. Obviously, the not giving up and keeping going part is what makes this really effective. And we're going to talk about how you need to go about that if you have not done so already, with one key strategy I want you to start with this week. Remember, we looked at some studies that proved that reading over material alone is not a good use of your time. And actually, self-testing is much, much more effective. People feel like it helps. This is how much they thought it helped them, just reading. This is how much it actually did. So testing, actually in terms of the exam performance, had the biggest impact. And as I said to you in year 10, revising, if you're doing it right, should feel difficult and hard. Just reading over things is not effective. Cramming at the last minute, it does not work, so you need to be started already. So now, if you haven't. Thinking hard is revising, not just sitting and reading and looking at your phone every 2 seconds. That does not work. Spacing out in short bursts and focus on what you find hardest. Some really key tips to see you through these 7 weeks and beyond. So if you haven't got a revision timetable up and running yet, that is your first job. And remember when you do that, to consider spacing out and interleaving topics. So the first thing you need to do, if you haven't done so yet, is to make sure you know what topics are on your upcoming mock exams. So for English language, because I teach language, I know that is paper 2 reading and descriptive writing. So I can guide my students with what materials to use there. Are you clear for all your subjects? Check your teams and ask your teachers. They will only be happy to guide you with the topics that you need to pay attention to. Then you should create yourself a revision timetable. Short blocks, gaps in the middle, other activities and things you do, fine, but plot out the subjects that you are going to do. I want to talk about flashcards today, and I want you to start making some this week in form time if you haven't done so already. Because flashcards are one of the most effective methods of revision. It's hard work, and if you combine a system, which I'll show you shortly, it becomes even more effective. So number one is to gather the information. So for example, this actually is not going to be on your mock, it's on your real exams, the end of the year for 11 English language. But it works as an example. Get the knowledge. That might be a page in a textbook. It might be your carousel study pack. It might be a knowledge organiser your teacher's given you. It might be some pages in your exercise book. Whatever it is, have that in front of you for that subject. This is one topic. And then prioritise. So which sections on here do I feel least confident with? Maybe this one, maybe this one. Then I would convert that into my flashcards. So how would this look? I might go this section and this section, or I don't really know much about this at all. I'm going to make my flashcards. On the front of my flashcard, I'm going to write myself a question. On the back, I'm going to write the answer. I'm going to do that for this one as well. And then I've got my flashcards I can quiz myself with. So I've identified. I might colour code them, so maybe I'd put all these on a blue flashcard because it's one subject, one topic. That's optional, really. I've made them. I've written my cards, answer on one side, question on the other. Now I want to use them. And I'm going to show you what the lightness system is in a second. And then if I'm doing it properly, I'm getting feedback on how well I am doing. Okay, so that is a nice set of steps to remind you how to make them and use them effectively. Now, with flashcards, it's what you do with them that makes them more or less effective. And I love this system. I use this system myself. My children use it. They love it. I'm sure they love it as much as me. And it works. So you have 3 boxes, if you like. This is how I use it. So I have a record box that looks a bit like this. And I have my sections in there. So this is every day. What I'm going to quiz myself on every day. So when I first write my flashcards, I put them there at the front, in that box, or there at the front of mine. And then the next day, so I'm going to do this every day, I'm going to ask myself the questions. Now, I don't just think in my head, what is the answer? I say it out loud. I actually get someone to quiz me because I find it just a bit more fun and like a game show. So my friend quizzes me. And then if I get them right, I move it along into my next box. Now here, they've got Tuesday and Thursday. I do Monday, Wednesday and Friday because I'm just a little bit extra and I quite enjoy testing myself more. Doesn't really matter. It works just the same. And I get them right on the first one. I move them into that section there. Then when it comes to Tuesday and Thursday, or in my case, Monday, Wednesday or Friday, I ask myself those, get someone to ask me. If I get them right, they move into Sunday. They've done Friday. Sunday works better for me because I've got less to do on a Sunday. And basically what happens is, if you get it wrong, it goes right back to the beginning. So if here I got one wrong, it'd go back there. If it moved up here and up here, but I got it wrong, I just couldn't remember it, it'd go back to here. So what this does is it means that you are revisiting the things you are least secure on more often. And honestly, the impact this has is huge. I have revised without this system. I've revised with this system. And this, if you stick to it, and it doesn't take long, it absolutely transforms how quickly you learn things and retain them. I actually, again, because I like to go a bit beyond, I have this divider here, and at the back, this is what I consider the long-term memory store. So I get it right on a Sunday, and I do have to get 2 ticks. So I have to get it right on 2 Sundays, because I just think that's a bit more secure. If it ends up with 2 ticks on, it goes into here. And then what I do with this, on a Sunday, I choose 5 cards from the back, and I make sure that I still know them. If I get them correct, I put them here, sort of the front of that back section. If I get them wrong, any of them, they go back to every day. Because I've not fully learned it, have I? I've forgotten it. And I keep running this system. And it really, really works. So if you want to maximize your time, I promise you, if you did this for 10 minutes, and that's how long it would take me for the everyday maximum, if you did this and you did it properly, and you did that instead of reading a book, a textbook, something online, you could do 10 minutes of that would be more effective than 2 hours of just reading because it works. So, this is another person who is a fan of the likeness system. So they have got their lovely, lovely cards here. Look at all set up, color coded, ready for their different subjects, their different topics. And they've got boxes here. You do not have to make it look as pretty as this. You can literally just have an envelope, a cardboard box, a plastic wallet. It really doesn't matter. What matters is the system of every day, a couple of times a week, once a week. So I encourage you to have a go. You're going to be creating some flashcards in form time this week. You can bring the knowledge. So find a knowledge organizer, a textbook, whatever it is. Find what you're struggling with, create those flashcards, and let's implement the likeness system everywhere in year 11 because it works.